Good evening, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Church of Doom. My name is Landon, and I'm on a mission to spread the good word of RPGs. And as part of that mission, tonight I wanted to go through a little D4 list of ideas I came up with for gifts that a priest could give to a party member. I came up with this as a creative exercise because I am starting a new campaign tomorrow night. And as part of that campaign, the party's meeting with the Queen's Witness is what I'm calling this priestly character who has like all these weird mutated eyeballs coming out of their body. Awesome mini from Beasterium. You should go check them out. I think that's how you say it. But anyways, I wanted to have some sort of fun little trinket / low power magic item list that I could roll on really quickly as part of, like I said, that gift that the priest gives to the party before they leave. And also just a backup loot table for them to roll on, or for me to roll on throughout this session. So, let's jump into it, and I hope that you get some creative inspiration out of this for whatever system of RPG you play. So, brothers and sisters, let us pray. The priest gifts you 1. Wisdom. All shall be made clear soon. Reroll 1 dice at any point. It's a 1 use only. Not a lot of detail there. Very generic, but that was intentional because I wanted something on this list that could be, you could fill in the blank for any character in any scenario with basically any backstory. Like if the party had a cleric who maybe was, worshipped a god of the heavens or a god of the stars, then maybe the priest gives them or whispers in their ear some sort of omen of a constellation or a comet, or something like that is going to happen in the imminent future. And you don't say in the moment or at the table when that comet is going to happen, because otherwise that defeats the whole point of having this super flexible item. Like, you leave it very nebulous, because then the player can have the freedom to expand upon the narrative in a combat, in any encounter, but most likely in a combat. If they're in like a really bad situation and want to re-roll a dice, right? They can describe how as the dragon is bearing down on them with its claws, right? And it's about to slash through their body. They see through kind of a break in the clouds behind the dragon, or the ash and the smoke that's billowing out of its mouth. They see that comet fly by, and then I don't know what they describe, it fills them with rage if they're the barbarian and they catch the dragon's claw, or the star comes crashing down and hits the dragon and it does like 1 point of damage mechanically, but narratively it's what allows the character to escape out of harm's way in that moment. That's what I think makes this relic, or this gift, so interesting. You're basically handing something to the player that says, fill this in later with whatever you want. It's also another idea that's I'm thinking of right now that's similar, is the I know a guy mechanic, where it's like if the party's in a situation where they need access to a resource, or they're trying to find a certain place or whatever, someone in the party can say, hey, I know a guy. And then that's they look to the DM or the GM to be like, who is that guy? Exactly. And it's just another little fun narrative mechanic for players to work around with. So really like that one. Idea number 2 for the priest gifts you is a rib bone. It contains the marrow of a falsely burned witch. Break it open to release her. It's like the deck of many things with the card that draws the knight, what was that? What was the knight's name in NADPod, not another D&D podcast, when they get the deck of many things? Oh, what was his name? He had the funniest voice. Somebody tell me in the comments, because otherwise I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes trying to remember. But it was inspired by that. But instead of using the deck of many things, I was trying to think of what would be something more, not archaic, but medieval. Or you guys have probably seen the pictures of reliquaries at old medieval churches that have like the skulls of patron saints or martyrs or whatever. I thought that would be really cool. And a falsely burned witch leans even more into that idea of a martyr, or someone who was killed for part of their faith or whatever their practice was, and it was a horrible death that it shouldn't have happened. And so they perform some sort of ritual on this bone that will allow that spirit to be freed and put to rest. Which then, now that I'm describing that, it's like a cruel punishment too, that the soul is trapped within this bone. But I think that's I'm really leaning into the hypocrisy of the religions and the different faiths and government institutions in my D&D world. I think that's really fun, both from a storytelling perspective, but also from a world building perspective. It's very liberating to just be like, yeah, everything in the world kind of lies and tells half truths, and you can never take anything I say as the GM as 100% truth. That this is just an in-game world, or an in-world way to justify that, if that makes sense. But anyways, yeah, so when it releases her, though, like, what exactly is that? I don't know. That's kind of up to you to decide, I think, with the mechanics of your game. If I was playing 5e, then I might just have it be like a fire elemental that I give a few, like, 2 uses of a spell, or maybe it can cast Eldritch Blast as a free, as its like action or whatever, but it does fire damage instead of, or actually, let's do Magic Missile. That's a little cooler. It can send these magic missiles that deal fire damage out, and then you can describe them to look like whatever you want. If it's this hag's spirit or this witch's spirit, false witch, right? A not real witch, or I guess an innocent witch. I don't know. I'm going to get lost in the lore of this character, but if I were to describe it, maybe when you break open this bone, it spills out this like that. What would I have it be? How do I describe this? I'm imagining like breaking it causes the pyre that she was burned on to like erupt up in the air, but I don't know how that would come out of the rib bone. So maybe it just releases her spirit. It's just this burning, charcoaly, ashy ghost spirit of a witch who can breathe fire or do something crazy. I don't know. I just think the whole idea is cooler, is really, really fun. And I probably could come up with something cooler in the moment. I bet you all have way cooler ideas in your head right now, too. I'd love to hear them. Put them down in the comments. Also, leave a like, pay your tithing. Idea number 3, the priest gives to you a heretic. They are tarred, feathered, and shrunk with odd magics. Burns in any conditions for 1d12 days as a torch. So this idea started to very quickly almost become just the same thing as the rib bone. It's like, oh, it's a little heretic. It's a heretic that tarred and feathered, or it could be maybe they were sealed in an Iron Maiden, or they were put in they're literally in a cage, like a big, the cages that you see in like Pirates of the Caribbean that the pirates are in, the crow's eating its eye. Maybe they were trapped in that and it was shrunk and it's like this little demi-planar prison or whatever. I don't know. Could be that, or it could be, what did I originally say? They're just tarred and feathered and shrunk down into this humiliating, embarrassing little totem. So I liked that visual. Thought that was really cool. And it speaks to the atrocities and the horrible things that this priest or this inquisitor or whatever might do. But I didn't want it to be, you release a heretic and you get a heretic that's going to help you out. Because I already did that with the rib bone. And so instead, I was thinking of Shadow Dark. I've seen a lot of videos about Shadow Dark recently. And in that game, like darkness and using a torch is a big deal. Obviously, it's part of the name, big surprise. So I thought, what if you could set the heretic on fire? Sort of like a candle. Or I was thinking of tar and feather. That just made me think of like you would light it on fire. I don't know if tar is super flammable, but that's what I was thinking of. And then you could carry it around maybe as a torch, or maybe you could put it in a lantern, or maybe it's like a prayer candle. You just set it out in front of you and that's what stays lit. But also the 1d12 came to me when I thought of the the religious story of the oh my god, I just had the menorah, right? How those candles burned for, I don't actually remember exactly how many days, but I just thought, let's introduce a little random mechanic here that the torch, this heretic might burn for 12 days and allow you and your party to survive in this dungeon or escape back up, or flee to the surface when you ran out of torches at the bottom, or it might only burn for 1 day and you have to curse this heretic's name, who I would, as the GM, I'm just thinking in my head, if I rolled a 1 and it was only, or if they rolled a 1 and it was only going to burn for 1 day, I would describe how as the minutes tick down and this heretic's form is burned away like a candle, their smile seems to like cling on. Like they almost have this cruel smile that the wax starts to drip down, and their skull is like revealed with this grinning skeletal face that just watches them as the darkness encroaches. That, I think, sounds really cool. Okay. Last idea here. So the priest gives to you her visage, wrapped mostly in holy cloth said to contain threads from her early vestments. Present it to the enemy. let me start that over. Present the visit. Present. Oh my God. Present the visage to the enemy to send them fleeing in terror. It's like automatic. There's no roll. There's no check. It's just you reveal the visage of her, which I'll explain that in a little. I'll give you a little more context in a second. But you present that, and it just sends that creature running away. Could be a dragon, could be goblins. It's whatever you need to send running away, you just show them this, and that's what happens. But the downside is it's one use only, and it bursts into flames. It's very biblical in my mind of this sort of like like Ark of the Covenant. You have to look away and you present this visage, and any who look upon it, instead of making it an insta-kill, which would be so lame, it just sends them running away. So it's meant to be something that your party doesn't use going into a combat to be like, all right, let's just, basically freeze the villain and make them a sitting duck so that we can just go in and hack them to pieces. No, it's like, oh my God, 3 of the 4-member party is down. I'm the last person alive, and the dragon is bearing down on me. There is no comet in the sky for me to use my reroll. I just have to present her visage, and that will send this dragon fleeing away. And at least we get to fight another day, right? Very cool concept for an item, I think. Now, her, I'll kind of end on with a little context here, because I think it's really cool. That is taken from Morkborg. They have the two-headed basilisk, which is the god of the world, and there's one head, which is he, and the other is she. And I've adapted that into my campaign setting, the Doomed Realms, or the world of Urchin. And there is, in that setting, he is the god king, and she is the god queen. And they are constantly fighting over the heavens and waging these holy wars between each other. And king and queen implies like, oh, so are they married? Is it like the Greek myths and gods? There's like that whole relationship aspect, or is it just like, are those just titles put on them by humans? Who knows? I think that I'm really excited though to get to explore. This is one of the first things from another established game lore or like a game lore. Game lore? That doesn't sound like a real world. A real world. Jesus, it's late. I've never recorded a video this late before. That doesn't sound like a real word. But I don't even remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about? That it was Morkborg. That there's the two basilisks. I'm really excited to take something from another established game setting. That's probably a better word for it. And bring it into my world. I tend to shun all established lore, and it's like, I want this to be completely my homebrew. And obviously I do steal things, but it's a lot more subtle. This is one of the first things in a while that's like outright, yep, it's even using like she and he, or him and her, and things like that. It's going to be really fun, and there is so much more about that I have to show you, that I have been working on and prepping for this campaign. All sorts of stat block templates that I've been making. So you can see this was one that I was filling out for the Palm Reader. Really cool demon mini from Miscast that I ordered and got painted up. But then I've also been working on this dungeon, the Blinded Chapel. This is what I'm going to be running tomorrow for the first session. And so that list of those magic items might find their way into this dungeon for some other player to stumble upon and pick up from that character's dead corpse, potentially. Or who knows? We'll see. I'm really excited to run this game, and I'm excited to have done a video where I shared a couple random ideas. I have not done one of those in a very long time, and you all have been asking for them. Basically, every time I post a video or do a stream, you're like, hey, are you going to post your old videos again? Like, no, they're gone. Sorry, I had to stay true to my heart and get rid of all the AI stuff on my channel, but I mean, just from looking at like this flip through alone, I hope you can see like I'm in a good place. I'm like really feeling the hobby right now, and I'm excited to be running a game, which means I'll have session recaps to start sharing. And yeah, I could just keep talking about all the things I could share with you all night. But I'm gonna end this video here. If you're a patron, a lot of this stuff is already on Patreon, so you can go download it and things like that. If it's not there, it's going to be very soon, so just keep an eye out for it. And yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching, and we say these things in their unholy names. Amen. Have a good night.